everything to me. His expression softened. You know, Congratulations, a new voice interrupted. Tamia and Brandon turned to encounter a pretty brown-skinned woman dressed in a navy Dolce & Gabbana skirt suit that hugged her slender figure. Her dark, lustrous hair flowed past her shoulders in a way that made Tamia more desperate than ever to get into her stylist's chair. Sporting months of nappy new growth and wearing a pantsuit that did nothing for her shape, she felt raggedy next to Cynthia Yarbrough, the scheming hussy who'd stolen Brandon from her. She forced a smile. Hey, Cynthia, you're looking well. Thank you, Tamia. Cynthia didn't insult her intelligence by returning the compliment. Congratulations on your acquittal. Thanks. Tamia smiled gratefully at Brandon. I couldn't have done it without this man's amazing legal prowess. I don't know if I can ever repay him, but I'm determined to try. Brandon chuckled. You might feel differently after you receive my final bill. Tamia laughed, then leaned up and kissed his smooth, clean-shaven cheek. She didn't miss the way Cynthia's eyes narrowed with displeasure. Don't get it twisted, heifer, Tamia mused. He was my man first. Soon she was surrounded by a group of supporters who'd been there for her throughout the trial. Lou Saldana scooped her up and swung her around, while her best friend, Chanel Jasper, took one look at her attire and promised to take her shopping ASAP. Distant cousins Tamia hadn't seen in ages had shown up, along with a few of her neighbors. Everyone who mattered was there. Except Fiona. And she doesn't matter anymore, Tamia thought darkly. You bitch! The enraged outburst came from the other side of the courtroom, where a sobbing woman was being restrained by several members of Isabel Archer's family. As Tamia watched, the woman pointed at her and screamed, You're gonna burn in hell for what you did to Isabel! Before Tamia could open her mouth to defend herself, Brandon silenced her with a warning look. Don't say anything. The jury has spoken for you, and that's all that matters. Nodding grimly, she watched as the hysterical woman was led out of the courtroom. Although Tamia knew she was innocent, it bothered her that there were people who would always believe the worst of her, that she'd killed her lover's wife in a jealous rage. The worst part was that she knew who the real killer was, and there wasn't a damn thing she could do about it. She'd sworn not to tell anyone, and no matter how horribly she'd been used and betrayed, a promise was a promise. After accepting more congratulatory hugs and kisses, Tamia followed her small entourage out of the courthouse and into the bright November afternoon. She and Brandon were met by a buzzing swarm of reporters who shouted questions at them. Miss Luke, do you feel vindicated by today's verdict? Mr. Chambers, do you stand by your strategy to portray Dominic Archer as the real killer? Do either of you believe he really murdered his wife? Miss Luke, do you regret having an affair with a married man? Taken aback by the barrage of questions, Tamia looked askance at Brandon. He gave her a reassuring smile, then stepped to the cluster of microphones. Calmly, he surveyed the crowd, waiting for the noise to die down before he spoke. Miss Luke and I are pleased that justice was served today. I commend the men and women of the jury for weighing all the evidence and coming back with the only verdict they could have. Not guilty. The reporters fired more questions at him. With all due respect, Brandon, one voice rang out above the rest. How difficult was it for you to defend the woman who cheated on you? Throughout the trial, you were forced to hear the lurid details of Miss Luke's affair with Dominic Archer. How in the world did you remain objective? Tamia's face heated with shame, while Brandon didn't so much as flinch. My prior relationship with Miss Luke wasn't on trial, he answered